The fluorescent lights of Meridian Tower's executive conference room reflected off the polished mahogany table, where 12 men and women in tailored suits sat with digital tablets and crystal water glasses. Their laughter faded as the door opened. She stood in the entrance, a woman in her 50s wearing a modest beige cardigan and simple black pants that had seen better days. Her grey-streaked hair was pulled back in a practical bun, her face lined but dignified. No makeup concealed the years of experience etched into her features. "Excuse me," said Trevor Wilson, the company's interim CEO, his voice dripping with condescension. "This room is reserved for the executive strategy meeting. Custodial services aren't scheduled until after 6. Snickers rippled around the table. The woman didn't flinch. Instead, she stepped forward and placed a worn leather messenger bag on an empty chair at the far end of the table. "I believe I'm in the right place," she said softly, her voice carrying a hint of a Midwestern accent. Trevor exchanged glances with Vanessa Reynolds, the chief marketing officer, who rolled her eyes dramatically. "Ma'am," Vanessa said with exaggerated patience, "this is a closed meeting for Meridian Technologies executives. Perhaps you're looking for human resources. They're on the 3rd floor." The woman removed a simple notebook and pen from her bag. "I understand what meeting this is." Bradley Forrester, head of finance, laughed openly now. "Look, we're about to discuss a $200 million acquisition strategy. Unless you're hiding Warren Buffett in that cardigan, you're definitely in the wrong room." The executives laughed again, harder this time. The woman simply pulled out the chair and sat down, ignoring the theatrical sighs and eye rolling around her. She opened her notebook to a blank page and wrote the date at the top in neat handwriting. "Call security," Trevor muttered to his assistant. "Actually," came a new voice from the doorway, "that won't be necessary." All heads turned to see Meredith Santos, the company's longtime legal counsel, standing in the entrance, her expression unreadable as she looked at the woman. "Ladies and gentlemen," Meredith said carefully, "I believe introductions are in order. This meeting can proceed when everyone leaves except for Ms. Santos and myself," the woman said quietly, still not looking up from her notebook. Trevor slammed his hand on the table. "I don't know who you think you are, but I am the acting CEO of this company, and you are interrupting a critical meeting." Meredith Santos stepped fully into the room, closing the door behind her. "Trevor, everyone, this is Eleanor Wright." The name hung in the air with no recognition. In the uncomfortable silence, the custodian, Miguel Rodriguez, entered with a coffee service. He was in his 60s with kind eyes and a dignified manner despite his uniform. When he saw Eleanor, his eyes widened with recognition. "Ms. Wright, it's been years!" he exclaimed with genuine warmth. Eleanor smiled for the first time, her face transforming. "Miguel, how's your grandson? Still playing baseball?" "Yes, he got a scholarship to UCLA." Miguel beamed with pride. "Wonderful," she said sincerely. "I'd love to hear all about it later." Trevor cleared his throat impatiently. "If we could return to business." "Yes, let's," Eleanor agreed, turning to Meredith. "How bad is it?" Vanessa interrupted. "I'm sorry, but who exactly are you?" Eleanor ignored her. "The quarterly reports show a 24% drop in innovation output, market share down 17%, and employee retention at its lowest in 15 years. Yet executive bonuses are up 43%. Interesting priorities." Bradley Forrester's face reddened. "How did you get those numbers? Those are confidential board documents." Miguel quietly continued serving coffee, placing a cup in front of Eleanor with special care before moving to the others. Eleanor thanked him by name while the executives ignored him completely. "Mr. Rodriguez," Eleanor said as he was about to leave, "how long have you worked for Meridian Technologies?" 23 years, ma'am," he answered proudly. "And when was your last meaningful raise?" Miguel hesitated. 7 years ago, before the new management structure." Trevor stood up. "That's enough. This is inappropriate, and Mr. Rodriguez is more valuable to this company than most of the people in this room," Eleanor said firmly. "He's shown more loyalty and integrity than this executive team has demonstrated in the 5 years since I stepped back." "Stepped back from what exactly?" Bradley demanded. Meredith Santos finally spoke. "Eleanor Wright founded Meridian Technologies in her garage 30 years ago. She built it from nothing into a Fortune 500 company before taking a less visible role to care for her ailing husband." "That's impossible," Vanessa scoffed. "The founder was E.W. Meriden, a reclusive tech genius who..." was a marketing creation, Eleanor finished. A necessary fiction in Silicon Valley 25 years ago when women couldn't get meetings with venture capitalists. She turned to Miguel. Thank you for the coffee, and congratulations about your grandson. As Miguel left smiling, Eleanor faced the stunned executives. I still hold 51% of the company's shares. I've watched from afar as you've dismantled everything I built. Not the profit, certainly you've maintained that, but the culture, the innovation, the human foundation that made this company exceptional. If you're really who you say you are, Trevor challenged, recovering slightly, why show up like this? He gestured dismissively at her simple attire. Because I wanted to see who you really are, Eleanor replied, and now I have. The boardroom remained tensely silent. Eleanor took a small sip of her coffee, then placed the cup down with deliberate care. Meridian Technologies began with a vision that technology should serve humanity, not replace it, she said. Our first mission statement, which I notice has been removed from the lobby, stated, "We build tools that amplify human potential." Trevor shifted uncomfortably. Times change, markets evolve. Indeed they do, Eleanor agreed. But values shouldn't. When was the last time anyone in this room spoke with an actual customer, or visited the manufacturing floor, or asked a junior developer for their ideas? No one answered. 3 months ago, I began visiting our offices, not as Eleanor Wright, but as Eleanor from Market Research. I sat in cubicles, I ate in the staff cafeteria, I listened. Meredith distributed folders to everyone at the table. These are Eleanor's findings. They make for difficult reading. Bradley opened his folder, then quickly closed it again, his face pale. You spied on us, Vanessa accused. I observed my company, Eleanor corrected. The company my husband and I mortgaged our home to start. The company where we didn't take salaries for the first 3 years, so our employees could be paid fairly. She opened her notebook. Did you know that Maria Chen from Product Development has submitted 17 innovation proposals that were ignored? Her last concept, which she ultimately took to a competitor, is now their fastest growing product line. Trevor's jaw tightened. Staff turnover is normal in tech. Hemorrhaging talent isn't normal, it's fatal, Eleanor replied. Just like cutting the education reimbursement program to fund the executive retreat to Bora Bora. Eleanor stood and walked to the window overlooking the campus she had built. I stepped away because my husband needed me. James had early onset Alzheimer's. For 7 years I watched the most brilliant mind I've ever known slowly disappear. During that time I trusted you, all of you, to be stewards of something precious. She turned back to face them. When James died last year, I had a choice. Retire completely or re-engage. I chose to observe before deciding. Trevor laughed nervously. So you've been playing undercover boss? That's creative. This isn't television, Mr. Wilson. Real people's livelihoods are at stake. Like Eduardo in accounting who can't afford his son's asthma medication because you eliminated the supplemental health benefit while approving a $12 million renovation of this executive floor. Meredith spoke quietly. The board has reviewed Eleanor's findings and voted unanimously this morning to implement her recommendations. What recommendations? Bradley demanded. Executive compensation reduced by 60%, Eleanor stated flatly. Those funds redirected to restore employee benefits, innovation incentives reinstated, and leadership changes effective immediately. Trevor stood up abruptly. You can't just walk in here and... Actually, she can, Meredith interrupted. As majority shareholder and founder, the board has ratified her authority to enact organizational changes. This is absurd, Vanessa sputtered. We've increased shareholder value by 22% year over year. While our corporate culture has devolved into exactly what I see in this room, arrogance, elitism, and contempt for those deemed less important, Eleanor replied. The security you called earlier, Trevor. They're here now, but not for me. The door opened and 2 security officers entered. Mr. Wilson, Ms. Reynolds, and Mr. Forrester, please go with these gentlemen to collect your personal belongings, Meredith instructed. Your access has been terminated effective immediately. As the shocked executives were escorted out, Eleanor sat down heavily, the weight of the confrontation evident in her posture. For a moment she looked tired and uncertain, a woman who had spent months witnessing the deterioration of her life's work. Was I too harsh? She asked Meredith when they were alone. You gave them 3 chances over 6 months to demonstrate integrity, Meredith reminded her. They failed every test. Eleanor nodded slowly. Then we rebuild, from the ground up if necessary. The following morning, Eleanor arrived at Meridian headquarters, wearing the same modest clothing. This time, she didn't head to the executive floor. Instead, she walked directly to the cafeteria during the morning rush. Conversations hushed as she entered. News had spread overnight about the boardroom confrontation. Eleanor took a deep breath and stepped up onto a chair so everyone could see her. "Good morning. My name is Eleanor Wright. I founded this company 30 years ago, and until recently I've been absent for personal reasons. Many of you may not have known I exist, which was partly by design and partly due to those who found it convenient to erase me." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I'm not here to make grand promises or corporate speeches. I'm here to listen, to learn, and to restore what's been lost." She stepped down from the chair. "I'll be sitting at that table by the window every morning this week from 7 to 9. Stop by if you want to talk." For 20 minutes, no one approached. Eleanor sat alone, drinking her coffee, occasionally making notes. Then Maria Chen, the product developer Eleanor had mentioned in the meeting, cautiously sat down across from her. "Is it true what they're saying? That you fired half the executive team yesterday?" Eleanor smiled. "Not half, just the ones who forgot why we exist as a company." Maria studied her carefully. "I submitted an idea for a privacy-focused search algorithm last year. It was dismissed as not commercially viable. Now our biggest competitor is launching something similar." "Tell me about your concept," Eleanor said, closing her notebook to give Maria her full attention. For the next hour, they discussed technical specifications and market applications. Other employees gradually joined them, cautiously at first, then with increasing animation. By 9 o'clock, the table was surrounded. "That's exactly what I've been saying," exclaimed Rajiv from engineering, his hands gesturing excitedly. "The ethical implications of data harvesting need to be addressed at the architecture level." Eleanor turned to Jessica, a new intern who'd been hovering at the edge of the group. "What do you think? You're our youngest team member here." Jessica looked startled to be addressed directly but gathered her courage. I think my generation won't accept privacy violations as the cost of technology. Companies that get ahead of this will win our loyalty." "Write that down," Eleanor told Maria. "That's not market research, that's wisdom." Day after day, Eleanor continued these informal gatherings. She installed a suggestion box in the cafeteria and personally read every entry. She wandered through departments, asking questions and taking notes. In the R&D lab, she discovered Jeremy, a brilliant developer with severe autism who worked with headphones and specialized lighting. "The previous management wanted to let him go," his supervisor explained quietly. "Said his accommodations were disruptive to the team aesthetic." Eleanor watched as Jeremy solved a coding problem that had stalled the team for weeks. "His mind works differently," she observed. "That's not a liability, it's exactly what innovation requires. Different perspectives." A month into her return, Eleanor faced her biggest challenge. A major client was threatening to pull their $50 million contract unless Meridian agreed to include backdoor access to user data, something that violated the company's original ethical guidelines. The remaining executives gathered in the boardroom, the same room where the confrontation had occurred, but this time Eleanor had invited Jeremy from R&D, Maria from product development, and Eduardo from accounting to join them. The loss of this contract would mean layoffs, Bradley's replacement as CFO warned. At least 200 positions. Eduardo, still nervous about being included in such a high-level meeting, raised his hand tentatively. What if we offered them something better instead? All eyes turned to him. "My team has been analyzing their usage patterns. They want data access for predictive analytics, but there's a way to give them those insights without compromising user privacy." Jeremy, who had been rocking slightly in his chair, spoke without looking up. "I can build that. A differential privacy layer that provides trend analysis without exposing individual data points." "How quickly?" Eleanor asked. 3 days, he replied with absolute certainty. Maria was already sketching on her tablet. "If we combine that with my contextual algorithm," the energy in the room transformed. What had begun as a crisis became an innovation opportunity. Eleanor watched, speaking little, as her team collaborated across departments and hierarchy. 3 days later, when they presented their alternative solution to the client, the response was beyond expectation. "This is better than what we asked for," the client admitted. "It solves our analytics needs while actually enhancing our compliance position." As the team celebrated afterward, Eleanor found Miguel the custodian cleaning nearby. "How's the new atmosphere?" she asked him. Miguel smiled broadly. "People say hello to me now, and look at this." He proudly showed her a form. "Ms. Chen asked me to join the product testing group. She said I see things others miss because I'm in every department." Eleanor nodded. The best innovations often come from unexpected places or people. 6 months after Eleanor's return, Meridian Technologies hosted its annual Innovation Summit. Once an exclusive gathering for executives and major investors, Eleanor had transformed it into a company-wide celebration where any employee could present ideas. The main auditorium was packed. Teams from every department mingled. Programmers sat with accountants, customer service representatives beside senior architects. On stage, a simple podium stood beside a vintage desk, the actual desk where Eleanor had written the first business plan 30 years earlier. Trevor Wilson, the former CEO, slipped into the back row just as the lights dimmed. His consulting work had dried up after his dismissal. Potential clients had heard rumors about his leadership style. Eleanor walked onto the stage wearing a simple blue dress, still modest but more polished than her previous attire. The audience rose in a standing ovation that clearly embarrassed her. "Please, sit down," she said with a self-deprecating smile. "We're here to celebrate ideas, not individuals." From his position at the back, Trevor watched with mixed emotions as Eleanor described the company's transformation. Quarterly results had just been released, showing a surprising 18% growth despite the significant increases in employee benefits and reduction in executive compensation. "Our success has never been about cutting costs or maximizing short-term returns," Eleanor explained. "It's about creating an environment where innovation thrives because people feel valued, heard, and purposeful." She invited team after team to present their projects. Jeremy, now leading his own development group, demonstrated a breakthrough accessibility interface. Maria unveiled the privacy-focused search platform that would become the company's new flagship product. Trevor shifted uncomfortably in his seat as he recognized the very initiatives he had dismissed as unprofitable distractions. The market was responding enthusiastically to Meridian's renewed focus on ethical technology. As the presentations concluded, Eleanor surprised everyone by announcing, "We have one more speaker today, someone with an important perspective." Trevor froze as she looked directly at him. "Mr. Wilson, would you join me on stage?" A murmur ran through the crowd as he reluctantly made his way forward. Standing beside Eleanor at the podium, he expected public humiliation, a cautionary tale of failed leadership. Instead, Eleanor said, "Trevor made significant contributions to Meridian's financial stability during a critical period. While our visions for leadership differed, I've invited him here today because growth requires diverse perspectives, even those we disagree with." Trevor looked at her in confusion. "I believe," Eleanor continued, "that we learn more from our critics than our supporters. So I've asked Trevor to join our ethics advisory board as an independent voice, specifically to challenge our thinking and help us avoid creating an echo chamber." She turned to him. "That is, if you're willing to participate in building something rather than just managing the bottom line." The audience was silent, watching this unexpected exchange. Trevor cleared his throat. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll contribute your expertise while learning a different approach," Eleanor suggested. "Say you're willing to grow." In that moment, Trevor saw what he had missed before. Eleanor's strength came not from title or authority, but from the capacity to see value in everyone, even those who had opposed her. "I accept," he said simply. The applause was tentative at first, then grew stronger as Eleanor shook his hand. Later at the reception, Trevor approached Eleanor as she chatted with Miguel and his grandson, who was now interning in the engineering department. "Why give me another chance?" Trevor asked bluntly when they had a moment alone. "I wouldn't have done the same for you." Eleanor smiled thoughtfully. "That's precisely why. Leadership isn't about power, it's about seeing potential others miss, including in those who underestimated you." The evening sun cast a golden glow through the windows of Eleanor's office. Not the cavernous executive suite she'd been entitled to, but a modest corner space with glass walls that kept her visible and accessible to her team. Jeremy knocked tentatively on her door, tablet in hand. "Come in," Eleanor called warmly, "How's the new project coming along?" "We're ahead of schedule," he reported, his eyes focused just past her shoulder, his way of maintaining communication. "But that's not why I'm here." He placed the tablet in front of her. On the screen was a video compilation from employees across the company, sharing how the culture shift had impacted their professional and personal lives. Eduardo's son got the medication he needed. Maria turned down a competitor's offer to stay. "My team actually looks forward to Mondays now." The final clip showed Miguel's grandson in his UCLA baseball uniform, speaking directly to the camera. "Ms. Right, you didn't just give my grandfather respect. You showed an entire company that every role matters. That's why I want to bring my engineering degree back to Meridian after graduation. You're building something worth being part of." Eleanor blinked back tears. "Jeremy, thank you." "It was Trevor's idea," Jeremy replied. "He said transformative leadership deserves recognition." Later that evening, as Eleanor prepared to leave, she paused to look out over the campus. The lights of the building shimmered against the darkening sky, and she could see teams still working, not from obligation, but from engagement. Trevor joined her, holding 2 cups of coffee. He handed her one. "I've been thinking about what makes your approach work," he said. "It's not just about being nice, there's something more fundamental." Eleanor took a sip of her coffee. "What's your conclusion?" "You don't see employees or customers or even competitors as means to an end. Everyone is an end in themselves, valuable because they exist, not because of what they can provide." He shook his head. "That shouldn't be profitable, but somehow it is." Eleanor smiled. "The true wealth of a company or a person isn't measured by what they accumulate, but by how they treat those who can offer them nothing in return." She touched the window glass lightly. "That's what I lost sight of when I stepped away. I trusted the wrong metrics. But it's never too late to return to first principles." Trevor nodded thoughtfully. "I think I'm finally starting to understand. The true wealth of life is not measured by what you accumulate, but by how you treat those who can offer you nothing in return." Have you ever been judged by your appearance rather than your character? Share your story in the comments below. If this story touched you, please like and subscribe for more inspirational content that reminds us of our shared humanity.